Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. In today's video, we will talk about access control in Oracle SQL Developer. We'll create users, grant system privileges, object privileges, create roles, and this kind of very basic stuff. Now, we'll do them in the sys user, like the system user for every Oracle database has it. To create a user is very simple. We just create user. Now, this will be a username, so it must be unique. For this video, let's just call him Jackson. I don't think that's how you spell Jackson, but let's just go with it. Now, this needs to be identified by a password because every username has a password. I wrote wrong. Let's just call him 123. Now, this does not really make a problem for me, but in some version of SQL Developer, this might give you an error. It must start with a letter, not a number. And to change the password, we just say alter user instead of create user. So I'll just copy that and say alter the user and give him a different password. 8321. Not very different, but let's just go with it. Now I still cannot connect Jackson to the database because he needs a privilege called create session. It's a system privilege and it must be given directly. So let's just say grant, I'm granting this privilege. Create session, to whom am I granting this? To Jackson. Oh, that's how you write to Jackson. But let's just go with this. Now, don't forget the semicolon and grant succeeded. Now I can connect to Jackson without any further problems. Successfully connected. Now I want Jackson to be able to also create tables. I can just grant him another system privileges called create table. Create table. Tables. Jackson. Very simple. Now we think that Jackson can create tables now, but that's actually not the case. We need a tablespace limit for Jackson. A tablespace is like a physical, logical unit of storage that, you know, how it works, how Oracle works. I'm going to give unlimited tablespace to Jackson just because yes. So I'm just gonna say unlimited tablespace to Jackson. Now, Jackson can create as many tables, as many objects as he likes. Let's create a table for demonstration. Now, if I run this without problem, it's run. Now, sometimes I want to make a collection of privileges. So I will make a role for it. To create a role, it's very easy. We just create role. Now, what's the name of my role? Let's call it members. Now, here's the thing about roles. There are some privileges, like for example, create table. It cannot be trusted to be given via a role. We need to give them directly because Oracle does not trust it. Mostly it's system privileges. It doesn't really have a problem with object privileges as long as it's not procedures and so on. Let's give some object privileges to this role. Now I'll just grant it some privileges like accessing a table in HR. Like let's grant select on HR employees because our table is in HR to members. Now if I run this, grant succeeded without a problem. Now I'll just give this role to my user. So grant members to my user who was called Jackson. Very simple. Now, this role is true that Jackson has it, but it's not activated. So I want Jackson every time he logs in, by default, the role starts working. So I'll just set it to default. I'll alter my user and set a default role for it. Every time he logs in, this role will be activated. Default role is members. And now Jackson has ability to access the HR employees table. HR employees was our table, and we get the entire data. Now I want Jackson to be able to, let's say, update the first name and the last name. I will give this privilege directly. So run update. Now, since I'm specifying some columns, I'm going between two brackets. I'm just going to write the name of the columns. So I said I want first name and also last name. Jackson will update these two columns, but on which table? So we have to specify that too. On HR employees. And we are granting this to our dear Jackson. And grant succeeded. Now Jackson can only be able to update these two columns. Now let's just go ahead and check that. Let's update our table, HR employees, and also set, let's set the last name only. Let's choose Williams. I will change his last name to not a king, but a queen. Let's also change his first name actually. So I'll just say also the first name to be, oh, I wrote that first name wrong. First name. Let's say Wills. And since I'm specifying, I'm changing two columns, I need a comma here. I forgot that. Where, let's say, employee ID equals to Williams ID, which is 100. And if I go ahead and run that, on draw updated. Now let's see real queen. And this is how we actually do all of this. Now, if we check this table, obviously, I suppose that you know that, but I'm just going to say it. If we check this table in HR, it's not going to change this because we haven't committed yet. I'm just going to commit to it. And now in HR, the data will be changed too. And to see what privileges we have, like Jackson wants to see what privileges he's been giving to. We can check that. So that's all from it's a table that exists in like every user has it automatically. It stores some specific data about the user themselves. So here we have a table called user call privacy. Now what this means, it says the user privileges on columns that has been granted to him. RCD means he has been granted to, and if you can see made, it means the privileges that Jackson gave to other people. Now if I run this, see it says I can update on HR first name and also last name. Grantable? No. So Jackson cannot grant these privileges to other people. I can give him the ability to do that. So after I'm granting something to a user or a role, I can say with grant option. If I run that, they succeeded, and let's run this once again, and you'll see it changed to yes. So Jackson now can grant these privileges, like only these two, to other users or roles or etc. We can revoke the role from Jackson. We kicked out Jackson. We don't love him anymore, so let's revoke the role. So we can just say revoke updates. I'm not going to specify the columns because I want the entire privileges to be gone. HR employees from Jackson. Now if I run this, revoke succeeded, and if I go ahead and check from here, I'll see that he has no privilege on a column level. Now, any other user that was granted privilege by Jackson will also be revoked because that's just how it works. There are so many other ways to see what kind of privileges that have been made. There's a whole entire list. You can check it out if you want to. But that's pretty much everything. And here we reach the end. I hope this lecture was useful to you. Drop a like if it was, and also if you have any recommendation or any feedback, you can let us know through the comment section.